Content warning. Dear friends, before we continue, please remember that the following stories, confessions, and testimonies are solely for entertainment purposes only. None of these stories are realistic, factual, and reflective of the past and current events in our society and what's coming for us in the future. For the most accurate information, please refer to official reports and news from mainstream media and government institutions. Thank you. Fictional warning. The following disclosure is a work of fiction and is not based on actual events or evidence. It is a speculative story exploring dystopian themes solely for entertainment purposes only. Please do not interpret this as factual or representative of real-world occurrences. On February 25, 2013, 6 international judges found Queen Elizabeth and her husband, Prince Philip, guilty in the disappearance of 10 native children from the Catholic-run Kamloops residential school in British Columbia. The children left for a picnic with the royal couple on October 10, 1964, and their grieving parents haven't seen them since. In this fictional story, which anyone can look up and fact-check on Google, the order to arrest the Queen was issued by the International Common Law Court of Justice in Brussels after nearly a year of litigation. This prosecution concerned 50,000 missing Native Canadian children and included a 1964 kidnapping case that implicated the Queen. The 4-month-long trial found Pope Joseph Ratzinger, Queen Elizabeth, and 40 other global elites guilty of crimes against humanity. The guilty verdict may have even influenced the surprising resignation of the Pope, which was announced later that same week. In 2011, forensic evidence of at least 31 mass grave sites with human remains had been discovered on the grounds of former Indian residential schools. Despite government efforts to discredit and conceal evidence from the public, Kevin Annett, founder of the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State, maintains that this evidence provides proof that the Crown of England, the Vatican, and the Canadian government are directly responsible for the deaths of more than 50,000 children across Canada. At the time of their disappearance, the children were attending church-owned Indian residential schools, which were in operation from the 1840s to the 1990s. It would seem that several incarcerations, and even a death, appear to surround the Queen Elizabeth 1964 kidnapping case. Former Kamloops school resident William Combs died after a 2010 radio interview where he discussed witnessing Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip leave the school with 10 friends and fellow Kamloops residents. Combs was the sole survivor of a group of 3 native boys who claimed to have witnessed the abduction during a royal visit to a residential school in mid-October 1964, when both the Queen and Prince Philip were in Canada. According to Combs, in October 1964, when I was 12 years old, I was an inmate at the Kamloops school, and we were visited by the Queen of England and Prince Philip. I remember it was strange because they came by themselves, no big fanfare or nothing. But I recognized them, and the school principal told us it was the Queen, and we all got given new clothes and good food for the first time in months the day before she arrived. The day the Queen got to the school, I was part of a group of kids that went on a picnic with her and her husband and some of the priests, down to a meadow near Dead Man's Creek. I remember it was weird because we all had to bend down and kiss her foot, a white-laced boot. After a while, I saw the Queen leave the picnic with 10 children from the school, and those kids never returned. We never heard anything more about them and never met them again. They all vanished. Directly after this interview, Combs, in apparent good health, was ordered to report for tests at the Vancouver St. Paul's Catholic Hospital. There he was given an injection that put him into a coma. Within hours, and without the consent of family members, Combs was pulled off life support and died of a still undisclosed cause. The Vancouver coroner's office refuses to comment on Combs' death. Apparently, even inquiring into the status of the case against the Queen can be hazardous to your health, as British soldier Vivian Cunningham discovered when he innocently questioned a senior officer about the Queen's outstanding arrest warrant. Cunningham was immediately committed to a mental care unit in Stafford, England, where he was injected with an antipsychotic drug olanzapine. The soldier then spent 6 months at the St. George Hospital Psychiatric Unit with a diagnosis of suffering from an acute psychotic episode. Cunningham was released after public outcry. According to Illuminati whistleblower Donald Marshall, elite members like the royal family never face prosecution, even if found guilty of a crime. What's more, the public never finds out about these crimes because they would be covered by a complete media blackout of all news outlets. Marshall explains that this is because the Illuminati believe that they are above the law and are essentially untouchable. By placing those loyal to them in positions of power, elite members can commit any crime they want with impunity, knowing that they will never need to answer for it. Marshall reports that there is a vast network of Illuminati members employed as high-ranking police officers, judges, and doctors ready and willing to hide any crime from ever reaching the public. Marshall claims that years ago, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip told him about how they would visit native orphanages in Western Canada and unalive kids for sport. They described how they would asphyxiate the children and watch them transition to the afterlife. Marshall realizes that this sounds unbelievable. How could someone do something like that to children? Marshall replies that he doesn't know why they did this, only that they said they target native children because they receive less attention when they go missing. Marshall maintains that Illuminati members are not above the law and cannot be allowed to get away with murder. He calls for immediate justice for the tragic loss of so many innocent young lives. The Darkest Secrets of Queen Elizabeth, the British Royal Family, and a Dark Legacy. In this fictional story, the passing of Queen Elizabeth II on September 8, 2022, after her historic 70-year reign, marked the beginning of seismic shifts within the monarchy and its perception across the globe. The British royal family, often perceived as a symbol of tradition and continuity, has long been under scrutiny in this imagined scenario for its alleged ties to hidden power structures and dark conspiracies. The weight of their legacy has grown too heavy, and whispers among the populace suggest it may be time for this 1,000-year institution to end. This story imagines a dystopian narrative where the monarchy, entwined with shadowy elite networks, exerts control not only over the United Kingdom, but over a web of international systems. According to speculative claims, these elites have deep ties to exploitative industries, including human trafficking and ritual abuse, orchestrating events to maintain their influence over global affairs. The fictional monarchy in this tale stands accused of participating in and benefiting from such nefarious activities, hidden beneath layers of public adoration and ceremony. In this fictional narrative, the royal family's lineage is traced back to ancient bloodlines, supposedly engineered through otherworldly intervention to maintain control over humanity. These rulers are depicted as operating within an elite cabal that feeds on secrecy and manipulation, pulling the strings of global conflicts and social division. Their influence extends into financial, political, and religious domains, perpetuating a system designed to keep the masses subjugated. The imagined monarchy is shown as part of a vast network protecting its own interests at the expense of humanity. Stories circulate about their ties to a shadowy global trafficking ring that exploits the vulnerable. In this narrative, the British Isles are painted as the epicenter of this dark web, serving as a hub for these unspeakable crimes. With these accusations, the monarchy's connection to global elites intensifies, portraying them as facilitators of corruption on an unimaginable scale. This fictional story delves deep into allegations that the monarchy not only turns a blind eye to these atrocities, but actively participates in them. The tale imagines a world where scandals involving high-profile figures linked to the royal family are conveniently suppressed, their crimes hidden behind walls of privilege and power. A growing movement of dissent rises, demanding accountability and exposing the supposed ties between the monarchy and international exploitation networks. Books and documentaries in this fictional world claim to document these allegations, weaving together reports of abuse scandals, suppressed investigations, and connections to influential institutions like the Catholic Church. Together, these entities are portrayed as working in tandem to maintain their grip on humanity, profiting from centuries of control and secrecy. In this fictional story, Europe emerges as a hidden haven for a dark and ancient system of control. At the heart of this tale are aristocratic bloodlines that have ruled for centuries, maintaining their grip on humanity through shadowy means. In this narrative, these bloodlines are portrayed as parasitic entities, feeding on the vitality and innocence of youth through ritualistic practices that remain deeply hidden from public view. The story highlights one such figure at the center of this web, Queen Elizabeth II. In this fictional scenario, she is depicted as more than a symbolic leader. As the world's largest landowner, controlling an estimated 6.6 billion acres, her influence extends far beyond the 32 nations where she serves as queen, or the 54-member Commonwealth. Her power, according to this narrative, is rooted in an ancient bloodline that traces back to the Near and Middle East. In this fictional account, the queen is not acting alone. A vast network of secret societies, Illuminati, Freemasons, Knights of Malta, Jesuits, and others, are portrayed as her accomplices, working together to sustain a globalized system of control. These organizations in this story serve as the enforcers and facilitators of a dark agenda, ensuring that world leaders remain obedient puppets. The tale imagines these groups orchestrating a network that thrives on exploitation, trafficking, and blackmail. It paints a picture of intelligence agencies and elite circles acting as enablers of this system, ensuring loyalty through fear and manipulation. The fictional narrative suggests that these power structures are all part of a larger plan, a new world order agenda that seeks to tighten control over the planet. Freemasonry, a key component of this fictional story, is said to have roots in the British Isles dating back centuries. It is depicted as a secretive society deeply intertwined with the monarchy. Many members of the royal family are portrayed as senior Freemasons, using their influence to sustain their dominance. The story highlights figures like the Duke of Kent, a cousin to Queen Elizabeth, who served as the United Kingdom's Grand Master for over 50 years. His brother, Prince Michael of Kent, is said to hold titles within other Masonic orders, symbolizing the family's enduring connection to these secretive organizations. The fictional tale takes a darker turn when recounting the life of Prince George, the Queen's uncle. Described as a rebellious figure, George is depicted as a drug-addicted aristocrat whose life ended mysteriously in a plane crash in 1942. The narrative speculates about his ties to controversial figures and his alleged plans to shift the balance of power during a tumultuous time. This incident, in the context of the story, is emblematic of the secrecy and intrigue that surrounds the royal family. It suggests that even within their own ranks, dissent and danger lurk, further reinforcing their need to maintain control through secrecy and manipulation. Moving forward, in this fictional story, the British royal family is portrayed as an ancient dynasty cloaked in secrecy, wealth, and controversy. With an estimated worth surpassing $33 trillion, this fictional monarchy's influence extends across the globe. Yet in this narrative, their immense fortune is not enough. They continue to extract wealth from their overburdened subjects. Each year, the Queen reportedly secures an additional £100 million, $128 million, from the public purse, while simultaneously benefiting from tax-free privileges and insider trading. In this fictionalized account, the royal family's history is rife with exploitation and human suffering. Their connection to the African slave trade, which began in 1564 under Queen Elizabeth I, is highlighted as a dark chapter in their legacy. Despite the British Empire's official abolition of slavery in 1807, the story suggests that an illegal trade persisted covertly. Today, in this fictional tale, slavery is larger than ever, with children making up 27% of the enslaved population. The royals, through a network of secret societies, are imagined as facilitators of this grim industry, thriving on human suffering and perpetuating a global system of exploitation. This story delves into the shadowy alliances of the British Crown. Secret societies such as the Illuminati, Freemasons, and other clandestine groups are imagined as tools of the monarchy, executing their hidden agendas. These organizations, in the context of the story, serve as enforcers, ensuring the monarchy's dominance through manipulation and violence. The fictional narrative paints a bleak picture of the royals as cold and detached, driven by a sinister ideology. Their alleged ties to ritualistic practices, blood sacrifices, and occult ceremonies are depicted as mechanisms for maintaining power and instilling fear. The story suggests that these acts are not random, but deliberate strategies to keep the global population subdued. In this fictional account, the British royal family's lineage is portrayed as a web of intermarriage and inbreeding designed to preserve their power and wealth. Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, described as second cousins once removed, are said to share a common ancestry through Queen Victoria and her husband, Prince Albert. This obsession with maintaining a pure bloodline, the story claims, has led to genetic and mental disorders within the family. The royals' German origins are central to this narrative. The Windsor name is revealed to be a facade, adopted during World War I to mask their German heritage. Before 1917, they were the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, a name steeped in European aristocracy. The fictional tale suggests that this name change was a calculated move to distance themselves from their German roots during a time of conflict. In this story, the British monarchy is not merely a ceremonial institution, but a powerful force manipulating global systems for its benefit. From the drug trade to modern slavery, the crown is imagined as a key player in industries that thrive on human suffering. The East India Company's opium trade and the wars that followed are presented as examples of their historical exploitation, with parallels drawn to contemporary issues. In this fictional story, the British royal family isn't just steeped in wealth and tradition. They are entangled in a labyrinth of dark secrets and unsettling scandals. Among the most striking revelations in this tale is the claim that the House of Windsor's claim to the throne is fundamentally illegitimate. When King Richard III's skeleton was unearthed in 2012, a groundbreaking discovery supposedly came to light. Genetic analysis revealed not one but two breaks in the royal bloodline, shaking the foundations of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. According to this fictional tale, one of these breaks traces back to 1441, when Edward IV's mother, Cecily Neville, was rumored to have had an affair with a local archer while her husband, the Duke of York, was away at war. Even Tudor court rumors whispered of Edward IV's illegitimacy, and a recently discovered document supposedly confirms this suspicion. A second anomaly revolves around the genetic disorder hemophilia. Queen Victoria, a known carrier of the condition, passed it to her descendants, but in this story, the disorder mysteriously disappeared from the royal bloodline. Statisticians claim that the chances of such a genetic vanishing act are 1 in 50,000. The implication? The modern royal lineage may not be as it seems. In this fictional story, the Windsors are plagued by a legacy of genetic ailments. The madness of King George III, who is thought to have suffered from porphyria, is only the beginning. This genetic disorder, common among European aristocracy, causes symptoms like purple urine, skin blisters, nervous system disorders, and mental instability. Queen Elizabeth's cousin William of Gloucester and other relatives are said to have suffered from the same condition, with statistics suggesting that a sizable percentage of royals carry the defective gene. The story takes an even darker turn, suggesting that managing these genetic disorders might explain the family's alleged obsession with blood. Whether through medical transfusions or sinister rituals, the narrative speculates that a constant supply of fresh blood, particularly from children, is required to sustain the afflicted royals. This chilling detail underscores the tale's overarching theme of a ruling class that feeds, figuratively and literally, on the vulnerable. The fictional story also delves into the lives of those royals deemed inconvenient. Queen Elizabeth's cousins, Nerissa and Catherine Bowes-Lyon, were diagnosed with learning disabilities and quietly institutionalized in 1941 alongside 3 other relatives. Official documents falsely recorded their deaths decades earlier, but investigative efforts revealed the truth. They lived out their days in obscurity, neglected by the family that disowned them. Similar fates befell other members of the royal family, including Queen Elizabeth's great-uncle Victor, rumored to have been both intellectually impaired and partially deaf. These hidden stories, the tale suggests, reflect the aristocratic tendency to hide genetic blemishes away, erasing them from public view to maintain the image of perfection. The story delves into Prince Philip's upbringing, painted as a tragic and twisted journey. His mother, institutionalized in Switzerland for schizophrenia, and his absent father left Philip in the care of his uncles, including Louis Dickey Mountbatten. But Dickey's older brother George casts a dark shadow over this fictional narrative. George, addicted to pornography, reportedly amassed an infamous collection of photographs depicting family orgies, incest, and even bestiality. These grotesque family albums are said to remain locked in a British museum vault, too vile to see the light of day. This depraved environment shaped the young Philip, exposing him to a distorted view of family and morality. The story suggests that such a warped upbringing left an indelible mark on the future consort of the British crown. In this tale, the House of Windsor is not merely a symbol of continuity and tradition. It is a dynasty enshrouded in layers of deception, genetic intrigue, and unspeakable secrets. From illegitimate claims to the throne to the dark underpinnings of its bloodline, this fictional story paints the royal family as a deeply flawed institution. In this fictional story, whispers of treachery, scandal, and forbidden desires swirl around the House of Windsor. It begins in 1979 when Anthony Blunt, a notorious pedophile and Soviet spy, was exposed as part of Rothschild's Cambridge spy ring. Despite his treachery, Queen Elizabeth reportedly issued strict orders forbidding any questioning of Blunt about a secret mission. The mission's purpose? To recover damaging evidence tied to the royal family. In this story, the stakes were clear. If the British people ever discovered the full truth about their rulers, the Windsor dynasty would crumble under the weight of betrayal and disgrace. But treason isn't the only specter haunting this fictional family. Edward VIII, the former king who abdicated, is painted as a man hiding more than his sympathies for foreign powers. According to this tale, his so-called love for Wallis Simpson was merely a convenient excuse for stepping down. The real reason, this story alleges, was far darker, a web of treachery and scandal that would shake the very foundation of the monarchy. The story delves deep into the alleged personal lives of these royals, painting them as riddled with forbidden desires and dangerous liaisons. Edward VIII and Lord Louis Mountbatten, the tale suggests, were far more than cousins. They were lovers, embroiled in a torrid affair during their youth. Mountbatten, known for his controversial lifestyle, reportedly married a woman as wild as he was, while also indulging in his darker appetites. In this fictional account, Mountbatten's depravity extended to alleged involvement in child trafficking and abuse, particularly linked to the Northern Ireland Kincora boys scandal. Here, vulnerable boys were reportedly brought to royal estates to be preyed upon by powerful figures. One victim's tragic suicide serves as a haunting reminder of the human cost of such abuses. Prince George, the Duke of Kent, is depicted as another tragic figure, addicted to drugs and alcohol, entangled in scandal, and allegedly romantically linked to Anthony Blunt, rumored to be his illegitimate half-brother. Their connection ties yet another thread in this fictional tapestry of betrayal and indulgence. The fictional narrative doesn't stop at the royals' personal lives. It ventures into their alleged family secrets, questioning the legitimacy of the bloodline itself. Prince Andrew, it claims, might not be the son of Prince Philip, but rather the result of an affair between Queen Elizabeth and Lord Porchester. Similarly, Prince Harry's true father is rumored to be James Hewitt, while Princess Anne's daughter Zara is speculated to be the child of a police officer. Even Prince Charles, the future king, isn't spared in this story. Allegations of secret affairs lead to claims of illegitimate children, including one Canadian man named Jason, who, as of 2017, was seeking a paternity test to confirm his lineage. Another man, adopted in Australia, claims to be the secret child of Charles and Camilla, adding yet another layer of intrigue. The story doesn't shy away from painting a grim picture of the royals' alleged influence and power. Lord Mountbatten, portrayed as a central figure in this tale, is linked to a scandal involving homeless boys exploited in London's Piccadilly Circus. Despite high-profile convictions, the punishments were mysteriously short-lived, fueling suspicions of a cover-up orchestrated to protect the powerful. Mountbatten, described as a mentor to both Prince Philip and Prince Charles, is alleged to have exposed them to the same dark tendencies that plagued the royal bloodline. This fictional account suggests that such cycles of abuse are perpetuated within powerful families, creating a dynasty mired in secrecy and scandal. The story reaches its crescendo with allegations of systemic abuse and institutional cover-ups. A former police officer, speaking in 2015, claimed that investigations into a high-profile pedophile ring in the 1980s implicated a member of the royal family. Yet, as with so many other cases, the probe was abruptly halted under the guise of national security. In this fictional tale, national security becomes a shield for the elite, a convenient excuse to bury crimes and protect reputations. The cycle of secrecy ensures that the truth remains locked away, leaving the public to speculate and question the reality behind the polished facade. In this fictional story, the corridors of power conceal a darkness that few dare to confront. Within the heart of one of the world's most revered monarchies lies a web of deceit, manipulation, and chilling truths that span decades. The late investigative journalist Rusbridger was known for his fearless critique of the monarchy and its questionable use of taxpayers' money. His voice, sharp and unyielding, seemed poised to unveil explosive material implicating the royal family. Yet, like others before him, his life ended under suspicious circumstances, his so-called suicide leaving whispers of foul play. Insiders believed Rusbridger had stumbled upon dangerous truths. The same fate befell Milligan, another who allegedly knew too much. In this fictional story, the list of silenced truth-tellers grows endlessly. Journalists, investigators, even royalty. They vanish, one by one, swallowed by the shadows cast by those desperate to maintain control. In one chilling episode, the body of 17-year-old Elisa Dmitrieva was discovered on the Sandringham estate on New Year's Day in 2011. The Latvian teenager's decaying remains were found near the royal family's holiday retreat. Police believed she had been murdered months earlier, but the case went cold. Nearby, another child went missing not long after. The area, overrun by criminal networks trafficking vulnerable children, became a nexus for sinister rumors. Could these disappearances tie to an elite circle's unspeakable rituals? In this fictional story, such connections would be inevitable, feeding the dark narrative of a hidden underworld tied to power. The royal palaces themselves are shrouded in allegations of abuse and secrecy. In 2002, a former palace valet, George Smith, claimed he had been raped by a trusted aide to Prince Charles. Smith also claimed to have witnessed compromising encounters involving other members of the household. His allegations were explosive, but instead of justice, there was silence. Smith died mysteriously at the age of 44. This fictional story would portray Smith's fate as emblematic of a larger pattern. Victims silenced, perpetrators shielded by privilege. The Queen herself once reportedly warned a trusted confidant, "There are powers at work in this country of which we have no knowledge. Do you understand?" These dark forces, as she called them, loomed over every revelation, every whistleblower who dared to speak out. Diana, Princess of Wales, herself a victim of the royal machine, is another figure entangled in the narrative. Following her death, rumors swirled of missing tapes, hidden confessions, and secrets too dangerous to surface. One recording, allegedly made by Diana, contained Smith's admission of assault, but the evidence vanished, lost in the labyrinth of palace intrigue. Michael Fawcett, a senior aide to Prince Charles, was at the center of Smith's allegations. Accused of rape, Fawcett faced an inquiry that concluded with the predictable refrain of insufficient evidence. Despite the controversy, Fawcett retained his privileged position, reportedly earning vast sums managing the prince's charitable endeavors. In this fictional tale, the layers of deception only grow thicker. Whispers of a gay future king add another thread to the narrative, with claims that Fawcett and Charles were discovered in a compromising situation. Whether grounded in fact or embellished by scandal-hungry tabloids, the Windsor lineage is presented as one fraught with dark secrets, their true nature buried beneath gilded facades. The story portrays a monarchy where shadows move in plain sight, protected by centuries of unyielding tradition and impenetrable secrecy. Behind every scandal is a system designed to suppress, to silence, to maintain the illusion of perfection. In this fictional story, the shadows of conspiracy cast long and dark over the gilded walls of Buckingham Palace. Headlines scream accusations and whispers of intrigue echo through corridors, telling a tale stranger than fiction. On June 3, 2013, a sensational tabloid splashed the bold claim across its cover: "Prince Charles is gay." Less than 3 years later, photos emerged of Charles in a compromising position with a young man, paired with the racy headline, "Gay Prince Charles Caught with Boy Toy." The allegations stirred the public, but the royal family maintained a stony silence. As this tale unfolds, the Queen's determination to safeguard the monarchy looms large. Another tabloid, The Inquirer, alleged in December 2019 that Queen Elizabeth had resolved to bypass her scandal-ridden first and second-born sons, Charles and Andrew, in favor of her beloved grandson, Prince William. The reasoning, it is said, was simple. Only William and his wife, Duchess Kate, could save the monarchy from crumbling under the weight of its controversies. Yet even this decision seemed tinged with dark prophecy, as some claimed William might not be the savior he appeared to be, but something far more sinister. The Antichrist hypothesis. In this fictional story, whispers rise of William's destiny being far greater and darker than the throne of England. Dr. Joy Jeffries Pugh, an eccentric researcher-author, theorized that Prince William might be a clone of Jesus Christ, with DNA sourced from the Shroud of Turin. She posited that he could be the Antichrist, groomed by shadowy forces to lead a new world order. While the claim is far-fetched, the stagecraft surrounding William's life lends itself to scrutiny. From his birth on the summer solstice, June 21, 1982, following a solar eclipse, to his carefully curated public image as a steady, noble figure, William's narrative seems meticulously designed. Occult enthusiasts note that the solstice is a sacred pagan date, linked to rituals of power and sacrifice. Princess Diana, it is said, believed her role in this saga was to deliver the future king of a new world order, a destiny she resisted but could not escape. The tale of William and Kate is presented as a modern-day fairy tale, the commoner who becomes a duchess, the coal miner's granddaughter rising to royal status. But even here, the story takes on a sinister edge. It is revealed that Kate's lineage ties her not only to British aristocracy, but to an ancient bloodline stretching back to the Merovingian kings, believed by some to be linked to King David and Jesus Christ himself. Their marriage, it seems, was not merely a union of love, but a calculated alliance to cement a claim to divine lineage. Beneath the polished veneer of their relationship lies a more turbulent reality. In April 2019, rumors of infidelity engulfed the couple, with allegations that William had strayed with Rose Hanbury, a close friend of the family. Though both parties denied the claims, the media frenzy only added fuel to the growing suspicion that all was not well in the House of Windsor. In this fictional story, the occult symbolism surrounding the royal family takes on an almost supernatural weight. The birth of William, with its alignment to significant celestial events, was no coincidence, according to some. The suggestion is that he was chosen, or engineered, for a higher purpose. Diana herself allegedly carried the bloodline of the House of Stuart, a lineage steeped in claims of divine right and connections to ancient kings. Her tragic death only deepened the mystery, leaving a void filled with speculation. Adding to the intrigue are bizarre works of art displayed in places like the Denver airport and the Bank of America lobby. These murals, rich with apocalyptic imagery, feature a blonde, princely figure eerily resembling William. One painting even boldly displays the name William on the figure's sleeve, as if foreshadowing his role in an unfolding global drama. The Jewish Connection and NWO plans. In this fictional account, the royal family's ties to powerful Jewish banking families, such as the Rothschilds and Goldsmiths, are laid bare. Diana's mother, it is claimed, had an affair with Sir James Goldsmith, making Diana, and by extension William, a descendant of these influential dynasties. Kate Middleton's lineage also traces back to the Goldsmiths, further entwining the Windsor bloodline with that of the financial elite. This convergence of power and lineage feeds into a broader narrative of a New World Order, with William positioned as its charismatic leader. The idea of a Jewish royal family ruling a global empire is presented as part of a grand, sinister design. In this fictional story, the pieces of the puzzle fit together with unnerving precision. Every detail, every scandal, every lineage connection, every carefully orchestrated event points to a singular conclusion: the ascendancy of King William, not merely as a monarch, but as a figure of immense, possibly apocalyptic significance. Whether savior or destroyer, his story is far from over. Dear friends, we will continue this fictional story in our next video. What is the most shocking claim that you learned from this fictitious disclosure? Let me know in the comments section below. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and I'll see you in our next video.